just watched was my truthful morning routine. It has been like that for all of my 20s and it's continuing into my 30s. Is it the perfect morning routine? No. Could I probably have a better one that would really care for me? Blah, 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 blah. Yes, but this morning routine didn't kill me. Hello, I am here. I survive and thrive and have a great life, even though I don't have a wartime stash of bath bombs in my ass. I haven't done a face mask since 2018. And morning pages make me so bored that frankly I start writing feelings that I'm not actually having. This video is part of my series called the 20s Toolkit, where I give you advice about things that I wish I'd known in my 20s. Take them or leave them, but here they are. And today we're talking about self-care. I guess the main lie I felt that I was told about self-care in my 20s is that if I couldn't cope with the impossible demands and setbacks of being a flesh puppet in this modern cruel world, it was because I haven't self-cared enough. I hadn't honed it down, perfected it. Damn it was my fault yet again. No. The capitalist machine is designed to burn you out. Resilience comes from true healing, slowly trying to redesign your life to back away from the rat race, and learning how to complete your stress cycles. There's a podcast about that I'll leave below. It is not made by buying things that you don't already have to augment a life that you might feel like you deserve but aren't currently experiencing. That's what I'd like to say to my 20-year-old self, at least. When I tried to practice the kind of self-care that I'd learned about on the internet in my 20s, it usually manifested as what was just escapism from my real life, or present self-care that was actually a wolf in sheep's clothing, a future self-sabotage of a life that would become harder if I kept doing this kind of self-care. So I thought, instead of moaning about that and giving you a deep dive into self-care industrial complex, which frankly has been done before and you don't need to hear from me, I thought I could just give you 12 manageable self-care actions that you can do in 10 minutes or less for the great price of free 99. Did you hear that? Free 99. It's just 0 pennies, nothing. Don't spend, don't open the wallet. Shut the wallet. I don't want to see your wallet. Don't, please, there are children here. For me, in my 20s, self-care became planning for chaos. Leaving myself little presents or little windows of time to catch up when I inevitably don't function like a machine. Some of these I started doing early in my 20s and have continued throughout, and some of these things I'm only just starting to do. I'd like us to try them together. Are these steps small? Yes. Will they stop you from total and complete collapse? Not on their own, no. Don't be silly. But if you've ever been stretched mentally, then you'll know that it's really the small things that can snap the camel's back. So here are some what I want to call anti-booby traps that can make a huge difference. Have a reply marathon, or sometimes in my head I call it a reply amnesty. One of the biggest stresses that I found when life was going like this is all the people that I hadn't replied to, professionally and personally. The kind of mental work it took to get into the zone and sit down and reply and be in that I am putting my thoughts in text form was a lot. And then also the longer I left it, the kind of bigger that task felt, the more shameful it felt. So what I do is I set a timer, make myself a big mug of tea, maybe a nice snack, and force myself to reply to as many people as possible. Within that time, no shame allowed. Even if it's just a holding email, I've got really good at apologising, but not over apologising, because I think we also live in a world where people want replies within 10 minutes, which again, we don't want to encourage that kind of behaviour by over apologising for not replying straight away. And I also think there's a thing that I talked about in my You Are Not the Main Character video about how people aren't really thinking about us that much. Like, they're not thinking about you having not replied as often as you are guilt tripping yourself about not replying. Useful phrases include, just sending you a holding message so you know that I'm not ignoring this. I am working on this. Here is the new ETA for my answer. Hey, I've got a lot going on at the moment, but I'm super determined just to send you a little message quickly to say I love you and I value you and I'll reply to this properly later. I haven't forgotten you and I hope you're having a bloody lovely day. During the more let's call them chaotic years of my 20s, turbulent, if you will. I was really bad at this. And if you're in a place in your life where you are really bad at this at the moment, schedule in a time once a month or even once a week in your calendar that recurs. Call it reply amnesty. Sit in an armchair regularly and go through all of those things at once. Put yourself in the mode, and then when the alarm goes off, walk away. You did your best. Make your bedside book stack VIP only. Having a TBR, that's a to be read, book pile by your bed before you sleep is like sleeping next to a neon to-do list. However much you love books, this practice quickly turned from a, oh, I've got so much to look forward to, maybe tomorrow I'll read that kind of happy moment that I looked at my books before going to sleep, into a symbol of a hellscape of all the things I hadn't yet got into in my life, and oh my god, am I gonna die before I'm 90, and how many books can I read before I die? Replace all the books on your bedside table with well-loved books you've already read, or comforting books that you can dip into. If you're like me, please free yourself. There's no need for that. Come on. Make a receipt box. Filing isn't as complicated as people make it sound, okay? Freelancing is hard, but a lot of people do it, you know, and a lot of people that you've met in your life that you think you might be a little bit more on top of things than they are, they do it. People talk about paperwork and admin and taxes a lot in this way that makes it sound more arduous than sometimes it has to be, and I don't know if they're just trying to put themselves through something awful, or it's an insecurity in themselves and they want to seem really important and like they're really, really busy. But all you need is one box per year, put the date on the front, and every time you get a receipt, even after you've put it in your spreadsheet, put it in there. You could also do it if you're trying to budget, but I just don't do all this like monthly filing thing. I don't even really have a file, it's just a box, and if you're missing a receipt, at least you know there's not a million places in your house and pockets and bags you could be looking in. Just have one place where everything in that category goes, and that doesn't just have to be for receipts, that can be for anything. We only have one place that we keep wires, generally. Storage for the same item in different rooms, no room for that in my brain. So if you're somebody who keeps receipts, get yourself a receipt dumping box, please. Get a digital brain dump. I can't keep everything in my head. That's not who I am. I've accepted that now. I regularly do picture dumps onto a thing called Google Keep. Have you heard of Google Keep? If you have a Google account, you have a Google Keep account. Literally just go to it and it's a searchable, taggable box of post-it notes, and I just take pictures of receipts, pictures of forms. When I had my jabs, I took pictures of my jab card. I took pictures of all the instructions of what I needed to do with my contraceptive implant. Pop a few keywords at the top of it. I even have done it for friends' children, details about far-flung second cousins that I don't really remember that much about. Literally, you can be your own Anne Hathaway in Devil Wears Prada, whispering stuff to yourself. Don't try and keep it all in your brain. It's not going to happen. Let it go. And again, don't make different accounts and categories and systems for different kinds of things. Everything that I know is in my Google Keep. I'm not an information tortoise. I will not be carrying my home round on my back. Stop moving your shit between multiple bags. Dear God, I know that it's cool to have like different bags for different outfits, different occasions, and I do have about 3 bags that I fluctuate between, but I keep multiples of all my essentials in each bag. That's 1 packet of Lemsip, 1 packet of paracetamol, 1 mini tube of sun cream, 1 emergency hanger snack for when I just get angry because I need to eat. Just me. It can't be just me. Anyway, I have 1 in every single bag. I used to have a thing where I had like a mini bag that was within bags, so I could just move them between bags. But the margin for error was too high for me. I am a bit of a chaos demon, so now I put multiple things of those little essential things that you will end up buying eventually anyway. You might as well buy them together and put them in each bag. It just makes life so much less stressful. I can't explain it. It's just the way it is. I also did that with like travel cards or Oyster cards. Like I'd have 1 in each place in case I got lost or I lost my wallet. I had £10 on each Oyster card in each bag because that's something that happened to me a lot in my 20s. One day I'll tell you the story, but today is not that day. print out your favourite poem and put it in your wallet. This is something I used to do a lot in my 20s and I've actually got out of the habit of. So this video has pushed me to do that again. The one that I'm putting in at the moment has a line in it that says, put down your gun and have a sandwich. I used to have a Laura Dockrell poem in there. I had like If by Rudyard Kipling in at one point, and just having something in your wallet that makes you feel safe. Maybe it's not a poem for you, maybe you're not a nerd like me, but something that isn't about money or information that's in your wallet that in those small moments where disaster strikes, you carry it around like a lucky charm. Maybe it's a compliment that somebody gave you from somebody who means a lot to you. I don't know why, but those kind of talismans, those kind of lucky charms really saved my bacon at certain moments in my life, and that I would definitely count as self-care. Set up a 30-second delay on your email. You can install this with Boomerang, but I'm glad to say that Gmail have now put it in as like a native function. Here's how you do it. It means that when you send an email, it won't actually send for another 30 seconds to a minute. Which means that if you press that button that you're like, see attached, and then you send it and you're like, there was not in fact anything attached. Or you say something worse, you have like a few seconds to realise what you've done and retract it before it sends. Nobody has such an urgent and self-important life that a 30-second delay on a reply is going to make or break their day or yours, and it can really save your bacon. For example, once I was working as a business development manager and I was sending a very important email to somebody incredibly high up in the UK publishing industry, and I was talking about how many copies I'd like to order of a book, and I wrote, yes, Darren, we'll call him Darren, I reckon we can shift about 200 copies of that. And he replied with, oh, Lena, that sounds painful. And then I realised I'd actually written this. So I'm here to stop the cycle of doom. Please install this on your email. Thank you. Make a list of 5 outfits you look good in. That can be worn to a lukewarm collection of different occasions. When you're really having a fluctuating mental state or the world just isn't really making that much sense, having a list, I have it on my phone, of outfits that I know I can just plug in, put on my body and walk out the door, has been a mental lifesaver for me. You can even take pictures of yourself looking really, really cute in the outfits and stick them on the inside of your wardrobe if you're feeling particularly extra. But just having something that you can plug into when you are completely frazzled visually has been really, really helpful for me. Do your birthday admin. Birthdays mean a lot to people. When my birthday comes around, it means a lot to me. Can I, for the life of me, automatically remember anybody close to me's birthdays off the top of my head? No, I don't know why. It doesn't mean that I don't love them. And when somebody remembers my birthday, I feel really fucking loved. So you can do the birthday admin once for your whole lifetime, and it's incredible. Here you go. You make a list of the top 10 people in your life, the closest favourite people ever. Write down their birthdays next to it, if you know them. If you don't, text them. It's quite nice just to get a text that's like, hey, I'm just making sure I don't miss anybody's birthdays. Can you remind me of yours? Or just text somebody that knows them and is more organised than you. Then go onto your digital calendar, put their birthday in your diary, set it to reoccur annually, and then set another reminder 2 weeks before their birthday to remind you that their birthday is happening. Make that recurring and you're literally done. I could have made so many more people's days and got into way less trouble had I done that the moment the clock struck midnight on my 20s. Why did it take me so long? But trust me, it makes the world of difference, and if you're a colander head like me, it really, really helps. Have admin dates with friends. Sometimes I felt too stressed or too overwhelmed to see somebody in person. I haven't really felt like I could take the time out to see them, or I just felt like I was really behind on my admin and it was really overwhelming and I couldn't do it. It is totally normal, nay, in fact, common, or it should be, to have admin dates with friends. I have had them all the time throughout my 20s and it has saved my bacon. You can either do it on Zoom or in a coffee shop, take a few hours out. You don't feel guilty about hanging out with a friend, but you still get the company. You can egg each other on to do those intimidating tasks or those like emails that you're just like, oh, I can't send it. You can ask questions, pull your adult knowledge. You can hang around with not feeling like you have to be talking all the time and have some nice comfortable silences. It's the dream. More people should do it. Ask your favourite person for an admin date today. And finally, Spy Hour. Have you heard of Spy Hour? That's because I just made it up. Spy Hour is when I have an ambiguous event in my diary that I'm going to alone and nobody really knows when it's going to finish or when I'm going to be back. And I just don't go straight home. Sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour or two. It will be completely unscheduled time. There is studies that show how good this is for you, where nobody else really knows exactly where you are and you're not beholden to any kind of task list. I've been doing this for longer than I'd like to admit, and it really helped let my brain breathe in between things and just injected a bit of spontaneity into this rigid life we've all got going on at points. You can also, if you work in an office, schedule in fake meetings with yourself. There's a lot of jobs where people don't always need to know exactly the details of the meeting. They just need to know that they can't book anything into a calendar then. And you can do this on a personal level as well. It's not lying, but you can just schedule in a block of time where you're like, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be doing something. And if that something is picking my nose and eating it, so be it. You're a spy, you're undercover, you're looking after your own MH. Super spy! Super spy! What are the misconceptions or lies you felt you were told about self-care? And what are some actual great hacks you can tell about how you look after yourself? Leave them in the comments below. I want like a big encyclopedia of different lateral thinking ways of self-care that we can all do together. These videos are free to watch, but they are made possible by the super spies in the Gumption Club. They tip me per video to make sure that these videos can keep happening. It's very nice of them. Thank you. If you'd like to look into becoming one of those over on Patreon, I'll leave the links below. This has been part of a series of videos called the 20s Toolkit. If you'd like to watch the series here, there's things on marriage, there's things on food, how to build a wardrobe you'll actually wear, the whole shebang. I hope you enjoyed your time here. If you'd like to be here again, make sure you have subscribed. Thank you so much for watching. Let's all give ourselves a little cuddle. Frog snug out.